Hello there. And I'm just doing a brief video here today because I wanted to actually ask my audience to sort of take some time today and over the next couple of days just to meditate on peace or to pray for cooler heads to prevail and a bit of a pullback on some of the brinksmanship that's going on actually from both parties centered around Nancy Pelosi, and it looks like now maybe other members of Congress and perhaps even the Senate visiting Taiwan. The Chinese government has been utterly clear that this is a red line for them, very similar to the talk of Ukraine joining NATO, which Putin emphasized in December was a red line if they kept pushing for that. And Biden rather famously told Putin to shove it. And of course, Ukraine was invaded shortly thereafter. And regardless of where you stand on Ukraine or the independence of Taiwan, I think that we need to recognize that this is playing with fire. This is being really, really, in my opinion, wildly irresponsible. I have my own thoughts and feelings about Ukraine and Taiwan that you may or may not agree with. I don't think the war that occurred in Ukraine is any kind of good thing any way you spin it. I understand the Russian motivation, whether I agree with it or not is kind of irrelevant. Likewise, I understand Taiwan's feeling that they are independent and that they should be recognized as an independent country. And I am not taking a stand one way or the other on that. I am not a fan of the Chinese Communist Party at all in the way they treat their own people, especially, especially marginalized groups like the Uyghur. That said, the Chinese government is being extremely clear that this is a red line that the United States should not cross. And that brings me to some astrology. This is a particularly dangerous time to be doing this kind of brinksmanship. If you see here, this is the sign of Aries, and this is Taiwan, China. And so this is for August 2nd. And the reason I chose that date is because if you look, Mars is at 2447 Aries, Rahu is at 2404 Aries, and Uranus is at 2433 Aries. That is less than 1 degree conjunction here in Aries with Mars in Aries. Mars, of course, is the planet of war and violence, explosive anger. Uranus, while not considered technically in Vedic astrology, I like this idea that it represents that the outer planets beyond Saturn, which are not visible with the naked eye usually, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, are representative of the subconscious and subconscious motivations and karmas, whereas the visible planets, Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Venus, Sun, Mercury, Moon, and then the nodes, which you can see with an eclipse, Rahu and Ketu, that those are more the visible physical karmas of the world. Rahu tends to have an extreme hunger, a desire for power, a desire to own and control and consume. It also has a certain expansive quality to it. So the combination of that energy of Rahu so tightly conjunct Mars, so tightly conjunct Uranus, which is a planet of sudden shocking change, sudden out of the blue, explosive events in the sign of Aries, which is arguably, I am an Aries in Western astrology, and I have a few planets in Aries in Vedic astrology. Aries is the fiery temper sign. It's really the sign, interesting tidbit, Aries are the sign that's most likely to be shot, apparently. And as an Aries, I find that highly amusing, actually. And I just am kind of having a little bit of a laugh about that, try to take the edge off the seriousness of this video. But again, if you look and you see this conjunction here, Rahu, Mars, and Uranus, that is a flashing danger sign. And it really shouldn't be ignored. And as such, I am calling upon my viewers to please just take the time between now. Really, this window of danger is between now, today, and through around the 10th of August to really hope that cooler heads prevail. If you happen to be in Pelosi's, if you happen to be one of her constituents, you're there in California, or you're a Democrat, or you otherwise feel inclined and you want to call her office and say that this is a terribly bad move. Part of the problem is that, as is so often the case when there's something rotten in the halls of Congress and the Senate, there's bipartisan support. And in fact, if anything, the Republicans are egging the Democrats on, saying not to capitulate to China. And, this is just going about it in this way is just wildly stupid. There's much better things that we could do, such as the defeated by this same Democratic majority in the House, things to where they were going to penalize like Tesla and Nike and some of these other mega corporations, Apple, who are doing business and even having components built in these Uyghur slave camps, but they don't, they can't put their foot down there, which would actually be an ethical thing to do. Instead, they're doing this brinksmanship, right before an election in the fall. And there's certain factions that I believe would love for there to be a direct conflict between the United States, Russia, and China, in part to cover the vast financial crimes going on, and in part to draw attention away from what's going on with the Davos set and their attempt at a global technocratic takeover. And so I just want everyone to take the time and just clear your mind and just visualize that this ends up being de-escalated, that there ends up being a peaceful resolution to this, and that we do not have any further brinksmanship around this flashpoint of Taiwan, and that also the Chinese government also lets cooler heads prevail, and that they don't attempt any kind of invasion of Taiwan anytime soon, or retaking of the territory, or however they want to spin it, any kind of armed conflict in Taiwan. It's a really critical geopolitical flashpoint. I'm going to have a video go up here in a while from one of America's, if not the premier, one of the premier geomancers in America, who understands how ley lines work and how energies move around the planet. And if I recall correctly, he said that there's a major ley line that goes through, certainly there's one that goes through Beijing called the Beijing line, but there's also one, if I recall correctly, that he said goes through Taiwan. And regardless of that, it is it's one of the last sort of spiritual bastions in China. Whether you like Taiwan or their government or not, they do allow for spirituality there, much more so than mainland China, where it's been repressed off and on since the time of Mao. And so it would be really devastating, I think, for the globe if there was an armed conflict there in Taiwan. And so I just want to ask you all to just take the time to really focus on that there'll be a de-escalation, and that this will not escalate any further from where it already has. And so thank you so much for watching. Much love. I hope all of you have a wonderful weekend and a peaceful week. Thank you, and have a great day. Bye.